It's the weekend. It's Mailbag. I think you can see Dave there, not me. It doesn't matter. It's all fine. I am joined this week by Foxy and Dave. We'll get straight into it, lads. So,
well, before you do, Les, if you just you've just said then, haven't you? You can't see me on this. It's very rare. In fact, I don't think I have done for years. Is actually have my face on this for the Mailbag that we put out on YouTube and whatnot. There's a reason for that, and it's obvious because the reason I got into radio is that no one wants to see your face. But the other side of that is, it's actually for a reason. A better reason, I think, anyway, is that I've been challenged by most of my family because I've been growing my beard. And I think the last time we saw each other was a few weeks ago, wasn't it? In fact, Fox, you were there as well, weren't you? When we were in the Denby.
Yeah.
What I've done, I've just let my beard grow. So I'll look like an absolute tramp. But what my Mrs. Haley's decided to do in the festivity that's about to happen in December, she wants me to look like Father Christmas. So everything's staying as it is. And I'm going to dye everything. The hair that I have left anyway, I'm going to dye that and my beard white. And do it for like something towards charity or whatnot. But I just like, I can't picture myself looking white. And I'm starting to think that when it happens, it might be quite ironic. And I'll think, you know what? I look a hell of a lot better with white hair and a white beard.
You might be full Gandalf and keep it.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I mean. Fat Gandalf. Gandalf. But yeah, that's what.
Gandalf. I said full Gandalf.
No, I said fat Gandalf. I know you're far too nice to say that, Les.
Oh yeah, well we'll look forward to that then. So it's got to be a blue Santa suit as well then.
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah, I've got to find. Well, do you know the Santa Dash? You guys done the Santa Dash before?
I've never done it, no.
But I've done it a couple of times, and it's I think it's quite cheeky. And I was going to say like sexist, but that's probably the wrong term for this. You two can probably come up with one. But when you need to go and get your suit, you obviously have to buy a suit. That's the sort of donation you make to charity, as well as getting everyone you know to put a few quid in and whatnot. But when you have to get your suit, they're obviously all one size and all that stuff. They're absolutely fine.
Like one size, you know.
Oh yeah, but you know when you run, yeah, because the baggy is anything. But when you're running, obviously it rips all over the place. And you get people just throwing it in the bin after doing half a mile and whatnot because they're absolutely knackered, and you've got a beard around your face while you're sweating cobs and all that. But when you order the suit, they only do, I think it's 100 blue ones, and obviously because it's a Santa is obviously dressed in red. There's obviously thousands of them, but you can only get like 100 blue ones, and they're really missing the boat there, I think, because you get a lot more Evertonians involved if you can get a blue Santa suit. So that's my aim with this. I'm going to try and get a blue Santa suit.
It's very toffeist, that, isn't it?
That's the word. I told you there was a different word.
Bastards. Like, if anyone, on the off chance that anyone from Santa Dash is listening, sort out your blue Santa suit issue, will you? Because if for nothing else, it's great how much it winds up the Reds. It's so funny. Yeah. Look at you in a blue Santa suit, you bitter bastard.
Yeah. You'd never wear a red one, would you, even if it was for the kids?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is the club... There's something else, the club, obviously, we criticise the club a lot, don't we, for what they do, like, merchandise-wise. But why is there not a blue Everton suit that the club do every year?
Did they do Santa hats anymore? I've got one from about 10 years ago.
I know. Well, it's Black Friday today as well. They're missing out here.
Yeah, ridiculous. They've always been Mickey Mouse. I was thinking about this today. Because obviously after Richarlison scoring last night, those 2 goals, you're thinking Daniel Levy's already doubled his money. 60 million was pathetic, a pathetic amount. Yeah. We thought that at the time. It looks even worse now.
His record for Brazil is ridiculous, though, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Yeah, but it's just like we've always been run by clowns.
Yeah,
it's like
Spurs kick off on him, don't they? Because he's only scored 1, maybe 2 goals so far.
Yeah.
But they're not going to ever play him like Brazil play him.
No, well, I mean, imagine what he'd be. I mean, I don't like to do this, but I will anyway. But imagine the difference he'd make in our team now as a number 9.
Massive.
Yeah, massive.
It's just like. Oh, anyway, let's move on to the questions before we go into the
depressed Mailbag already. 5 minutes in.
Got one from TWS. Right, fill in the blank. Just first word that comes into your head, Foxy. The Goodison sleep out, the Goodison zip wire, the Bramley Moor
Championship.
Oh, okay, Championship. Foxy.
I went a bit longer with this. So I was kind of thinking Bramley Moor. You see now, like the prices are going up for seats and stuff. So it's not going to be cheap and cheerful. I think we'll go for more of a fine dining experience. So I reckon it'll be like the Bramley Moor cheese and wine eat out.
Bramley Moor cordon bleu.
Yeah. I was
talking
really
about Paddy Boyland is going to buy that place, mate, if it comes about. He'd love that.
He'll never leave. He'll get his flat down by the Bramley Moor.
Exactly.
I was really disappointed, like partly with the end of our relationship with USM. I was always hopeful with name Bramley Moor, Carter USM.
Yeah.
After our former chairman and our sponsor, but it's never going to happen. But if we can, off the back of picking up wine and cheese, Bramley Moor Dock, I think that'd be a nice day out. Get the merchandise in, get the corporates in. Maybe we'll get some rugby matches or something. When England rugby union team do some tours up north, they come to us. We could have a tweed event or something.
I'm all in for a tweed event. 100%.
You know what? Go on there, sorry.
I was going to say, what Foxy was saying, and that's the crossover we needed for the opening of Bramley Moor, the Carter USM player.
It'll be awesome. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I was just going to ask about that when you just mentioned it briefly then, Foxy, about the tickets have gone up a little bit since they've released it for Christmas and whatnot, and everyone's got a different opinion on this, and there's all sorts of arguments as you expect on the social. But I'm just thinking now, have you guys thought of what sort of pricing we're going to be looking at when we go to, assuming we're still in the Premier League, by the way, when we go to Bramley Moor, what type of cost? So I think mine's gone up to, because I sit in the main stand now, I think it's gone up to 670 quid, which I know the club have banged on about it being only 10%, but actually most seats are more than 10% now. Yeah. Anyway, so that's 670. And I just saw a couple of people saying, you're probably looking upwards, say 750 cheapest, up to say 850, 900 quid.
I think so.
I mean, I'm thinking now, and what we're still looking at 18 months before we go there, at least.
Yeah.
I could see that being even more than that. What do you think?
There's got to be season tickets going for about £1,000.
Yeah.
Well, that's even before thinking about the corporate stuff you've just mentioned there as well.
That's what I mean. I don't mean corporate, it just mean in certain sections of the ground, more expensive bits would be £1,000 easy.
Yeah. I think what they're doing is staggering the price increase. So it's not such a big jump up from Goodison to Bramley Moor. It will be another 10% next year, maybe 10% the year after that. I think they'll be I think they're banking on, they've got a waiting list of apparently 20,000 people, and they're banking on more people coming in than those leaving.
I can see the reasons for doing that, because no one wants a massive jump in prices all at once.
Yeah.
The thing that really grates with me is that they don't really need to do it.
They don't need it right now.
They don't need to put the prices up. Even when we get to Bramley Moor, they don't really need to put the prices up. I wouldn't have thought, because you've got extra people going. You're going to get more people buying stuff at the ground.
Yeah,
it's kind of like, I mean, the ticket prices contribute towards the construction costs. Because I would have thought that was, I would hope that our season tickets aren't paying for the thing to get built, sort of retrospectively. I would have thought that money's going into the club, and it's like, you would have thought, don't like to use the term ring fenced because it brings back horrible memories. But you would
thinking like a bit further down the Mersey there, aren't you, when you say that?
God, yeah. You would like to think, though, that the money for the ground construction is ring fenced, and your ticket prices don't need to go towards that. I could be miles out there, and if I am, I can see why
they're going to have to pay it back, aren't they? They're going to have to pay back the 500 or whatever million over the next 20 years. So I think it's just a stepping stone. I think it's just part of a. If we weren't moving, I think the prices probably would have frozen for the last couple of years.
Yeah,
I think because we're moving, they have to.
Well, there's such a hearts and minds thing with this thing, because you look at what I personally think they are banking on, which they've done when they've raised ticket prices, is they've got a history of either just freezing them for a few seasons in a row, like 3 or 4 seasons. Do you remember this? So the Martinez years, the Moyes years, and whatnot. Yeah. I think that's a nice thing that in their minds they've got sort of in the back pocket to be able to say, well, do you know what, this we could have already been charging close to this amount you're going to have to pay in Bramley Moor as well, which is I suppose PR wise we're not great at that either, are we, along with everything else, but that's something I think they've probably got an eye on, is being able to sell it that way. And the other side you say there with the sort of how many it is that we've got waiting for season tickets on the back list?
Well, I've heard numbers like 20,000.
Yeah,
which seems a lot, doesn't it? But
I remember it was first when it was the season after Koeman come in. I think it was that's when the waiting list began, which we're looking at 6 years ago now. And yeah, I'm with you, Foxy. I think 20,000 is a big number that they'd have to dig into. But it depends, doesn't it, as well? I mean, how important that season before we go in is going to be in regards to numerous things. Because you can go from typically where we are now, from a relegation fight potentially once again, like we did last season. If the end of the season before we go to Bramley Moor is like that, they've got nothing to be able to sell to fans and say we are charging this. Whereas, say if we went and qualified for Europa League, which is given that things don't go any worse than they have been, which I wouldn't hold your breath. But say we get to that stage where you've got something to be able to sell to the fans and say, oh, go into auto cup things you can do with your season ticket and whatnot. Oh, it's only X amount of money rather than this we were going to ask you to pay because we've qualified. There's an actual excuse for you to be able to say to somebody, it cost X amount because we are in this level and it looks like things are kicking on. The things they probably wanted to do for so long since Mashiri came in, that they've wanted to sell extra things, even from merchandise all the way up to tickets, and to be able to say, this is an Everton side that's on the rise. The irony for us, as always, is we've gone even further down.
Well, this is it. I think I was speaking to Dan on Twitter the other day, and he was saying something, picking up on something Matt said. It's like we never get anything back from them. We just blindly give them our money. I mean, and
your loyalty.
I don't want to sound entitled in all of that. At all, because we don't deserve anything, especially, you've got to earn the right to be like a good football team and that. But we just genuinely get absolutely nothing back from them. The fact that they fucked up the last 5 years just says it all, doesn't it? It's like, we don't want much. We're just like a competent football club and football team. We're not even asking for we should be winning this cup, we should be winning the league. Not even challenging for the league. Just be fucking normal. Just be a competent football club. That's all we ask.
It's pretty sad that my favourite time from about the last 10 years was probably the last 3 months of last season, where we actually had something to play for. The atmosphere in the ground was great, the kind of the blue smoke thing and everything else that went with it. And that Palace game was phenomenal at the end, even though it was kind of just staying up. But that's actually been probably a highlight for me.
But even then, they pissed up the wall, all the good feeling and all the goodwill that had been built by writing off the first month of the season.
Yeah.
He totally wrote off August, and that completely knocked the legs from under us and knocked out any goodwill. I'm not happy with them in a minute, can you tell?
Just before you go on to the next question, we'll make this a little bit lighter than what we've spoken about here because of me. There's definitely an article going around here, and I'd ask anyone to try and read this. Because it come out, and I'm not sure if it was one of the fucking banter type of places that put this piece out, that said that it's actual a fact that Everton are the most boring football club out of all 92 clubs.
Oh yeah, I mean,
and that's because we're just that, or we really that, or the most insignificant club, because we were just bog standard. Mid-table for so long. Like we wouldn't go any higher than say 8th, which is a great season for us now, down to 15, say. And you think back to the Martinez last couple of years where we were 11th all the time. You think even to when was the last time we were in Europe under Koeman? There was one good season then. But when you actually look at statistically, apparently that's true. That we are the most insignificant side because we've been like that. And what's that term that we always used to get thrown, that we always used to say about ourselves is, fan-wise, they don't deserve us. And I actually think that's true because we still rock up. We've got a waiting list of, like Foxy was saying, then up to 20,000 people still wanting to go. They really don't deserve that the way they ran.
Yeah, I mean, tickets sell out in the first hour. So I'm on the members thing. And if you don't get your ticket in the first hour, you can't go. Yeah. And how stupid is that of us, really?
I know,
there's that many committed people, and it's just
the words of that, and it's gullible, but we still keep going. We still keep going. We keep doing this. Do you know what I mean?
We're idiots.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah, they definitely don't deserve us. God, I hate them.
It's really nice they're not playing right now.
I'm really enjoying this World Cup because I don't have to think about them.
It's really good.
And I start thinking about them and right, here we go. Bollocks to Everton. Adam's asked, which car will be best for transporting a polar bear? Can't be a van or a car-derived van. So I guess that's a pick-up out the question. We did get a reply to this. Steve said the gifts have spoken, and it's basically polar bear wearing an eye patch and some sort of body armor and a cravat in a muscle car, which seems like I can't really beat that for an answer.
No. It's... Go, mate.
Go on, Foxy.
Well, it's kind of like one of those questions you get in a Mensa exam. Like, you need to have proper thought. So the only thing I could really think of, and I've probably been watching too many Midsomer Murder things where they have like Volvos driving through the snow in some kind of like Swedish background. So it's like, yeah, I don't know, boring Volvo.
Volvo, yeah.
It's a hard question. That's not straightforward.
So, yeah.
I mean, first of all, I'd like to think that he's not actually thinking of literally doing this.
He might be.
Poor polar bear, like, you know. But
he might have a polar bear problem. It's winter. He might have polar bears in his garden. He's thinking, how the fuck am I going to get rid of these? What car do I need?
He could live in Stockholm or something. I don't know.
Yeah, these lads aren't gonna melt. I don't know. I think I'm trying to think of a realistic. Like, if you could literally want to do, which I guess is the answer that he wants, which you literally without talking about, like, let's say a tank or, like he said, a van. I mean, I think you're looking at something like one of those Hummer limousines that you see.
Yeah.
With a swimming pool in the back full of ice.
Well, nice. Yeah, but the thing is as well, I don't know how you get them in.
Coax.
You need a big boot, wouldn't you, to get them through?
I meant physically in size, not just
okay.
Take his bones out first.
That's when he walks in.
I thought you meant like how you... Yeah.
It's just tying to the roof. I don't know.
Staples and sellotape.
Oh, listen, we're talking about like animal rights here, you know. You're going too far with that.
we're trying to transport a polar bear in some like
cling film to a lamppost or something.
I love it when people get involved with the questions like that. You know, it makes it puts you in a good mood, doesn't it, when you hear these questions on this show and we don't talk about Everton too much.
Yeah, basically that's been the idea, hasn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So here's someone who does like to talk about Everton, but he's not actually an Everton fan. And I'm quite disturbed by this question. If you had to torture Laura for 24 hours, how would you go about this? To which Laura replied, bit weird, Kyle. I have to agree, if I'm honest, but, you know, it's question to question.
I think you need to put the answer
to you first, then.
Well, I was going to say, I'm devastated you have, to be honest, because I haven't thought about this too much because I'm not that cynical.
I'm glad to hear it, to be honest.
I'm not that much of a sicko, actually.
I've thought about this quite a bit, so you're fine.
Was that before the question was asked, or?
Well, can we just specify that this is Laura's partner who asked this question? So I'm not sure what he's thinking about. He's been watching anything dodgy.
Maybe he's got a fun weekend lined up. Who knows? We can't judge.
I know, exactly. So I would have tortured Laura. Just say the question again, because it feels uncomfortable saying it.
Basically, if you had to torture Laura for 24 hours, how would you go about it?
If you had to.
Go on, Foxy, we'll come to you.
Yeah,
You've given it some thought.
Yeah,
he's got a list here.
I've got a list. It's a full page. So I had two thoughts. So one was, I think Carl's an Arsenal fan. So I thought one thought for 24 hours, you could have like a video of the Invincibles playing non-stop and Laura had to watch it. I think that's pretty enough to send anyone bad. Tony Adams hammering one in against us at
oh god, yeah.
Tony Adams
Highbury, certainly. That's enough to like turn anyone. The second one was she's also quite a big fan of Coleman and Tarkowski, isn't she?
Oh, yeah,
I figured if you guys could organise a Blue Room event in the Dendy, there's some like Greco-Roman wrestling something in this the Dendy. Invite everyone there except for Laura. And Laura had to be back at her house or something, watching the Arsenal Invincibles on loop whilst everyone else is watching Tarkowski and Coleman go for some Greek wrestling. I think that'd be torture for her.
I think you've just answered the question perfectly, to be honest.
I don't know. That might turn it on. No, watching those two having a scrap.
No, she
No, she
won't be
can't
able
see it,
to. She won't be able to. Yeah, she'll be banned from it. So everyone else will be watching.
Oh,
it,
I
not her.
see. Okay.
She's back home watching Tony Adams on repeat. She can't see this.
Yeah. I'm going to be a little bit more, and she obviously is going to listen to this as well, so I'll apologise in advance because she does love Seamus and she doesn't like him being criticised. But I think Mark Moseley's probably guilty of this, and obviously Matt Jones as well. I think we've all, but those two in particular have had more snide digs at him than certainly me and others have towards Coleman during his time at Everton. But the fella has never been able to cross a ball. So I would have her watch 24 hours of Seamus crossing the ball and defending, because I don't think he's a great... In fact, it sounds like I'm proper slagging him off, and I am.
Yeah, what is he good at, Dave?
Nice guy.
But it comes from a good place. So, yeah, bless you, Laura, but I don't ever want to see Coleman cross a ball again. And I don't think he's the greatest defensively. I think what makes him what he is and what he's been good for us and great for us for is his passion as the club as a captain. I know that's really cheesy, and it probably is a little bit offensive towards those who are Seamus Coleman lovers. But yeah, 24 hours doing the old thing on what's it called? Clockwork Orange. What's it called?
Clockwork Orange, yeah.
Clockwork Orange, yeah.
The eyes.
If someone's on it with the eyes here watching him and his list of cock-ups at Everton, most of them will be crosses. Yeah.
If I never see one of those little floated crosses ever again, it'll be too soon.
Oh, mate, when he does those things, the same sort of stroke of his right foot, like it's a 50-yard diagonal, isn't it? That's the way in which he crosses the ball. He's never been able to whip it in. It's the one thing. The other side of it is, I'd also include Tony Ibbott crossing the ball, because Tony Ibbott could cross the ball okay. There was loads of other things that he was absolutely disgraceful at. But yeah, Ed, players at right back who have been miles better than Seamus versus him crossing it with the Clockwork Orange thing with the eyes. I think that'd torture her, that.
I think it would. I'll tell you who could cross a ball. Tony Thomas. He was shit, but he could cross a ball.
Tony Thomas?
Telling you.
That's random as fuck, that.
I'm sure he set up 2 for Ferguson in that 3-2 win against Bolton at home.
You sure he was there then? Because I actually was at that game.
Yeah, I'm sure Tony Thomas set up 2 of them goals,
Really?
Yeah.
Tony Thomas, man.
I mean, people can put me right on that because I'm probably wrong. I usually am, but in my head, Tony Thomas pinged in 2 crosses for Ferguson in that game. Kept us up essentially that game, didn't it?
Were we 2-0 down, or it went 1-1, 2-1?
I can't remember how the scoring went, but it was close.
A cracking game, though.
Yeah. Another one from TWS. Love this question. Best World Cup memory. Player you watched at the World Cup and were desperate for Everton to sign. Favourite World Cup kit. My God. There's a lot to digest. So we'll go first. The best World Cup memory. So I said to in the replies, I think my first ever World Cup memory, weirdly, was Brian Robson dislocating his shoulder against Morocco.
Is that 82?
Yeah, 86.
Yeah, 86.
So I remember, I think my dad was on night. I was up watching the game with my mum. I think it was on about 10 o'clock at night or something. And that stuck in my mind. I have no idea why. I didn't like Brian Robson, but I didn't hate him that much. It was just, I was 9. I didn't hate anyone apart from me and Rush. Yeah, that
as well.
No one needs to see that first thing in the morning. That was my first memory. But I think my best memory, I said in the replies, was probably that goal that I put in the tweet for Mailbag. That one for Lineker, because he was obviously still at Everton at that time. He'd just come off the back of that. Although a disappointing season, he did net 40 and he was amazing. So when he scored, that was amazing. And as you heard, if anyone listened to the commentary on that clip, it went from Peter Beardsley to Trevor Stevens to Gary Stevens to Lineker, and the commentator says like the Everton connection does it for England. It was just like, it was such a good time to be supporting Everton and England.
Yeah.
At that point, I think that's one of my favourite memories and one of my first as well. Foxy, what's yours?
Yes, I was 5'6" when the '86 World Cup happened. I vaguely remember it, and I think it's about my first football memory. So I think I remember the Argentinian game. But you know, when you see stuff back, it's hard to know what you remember and what you just seen. My first proper memories and favourite as a kid was Platt versus Belgium in 1990.
Oh yeah.
When we were kind of, I think we were level or we were losing.
Extra time, was it?
Extra time, yeah. And I think it was Gascoigne put a ball in, and Platt kind of just hooked it over his shoulder in the last minute of extra time before we went to penalties, and it kind of saw us through to the next round. I think it was a game before we played Germany in the semis. I could have got that wrong. It might.
No, it was. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the quarter. Or was Cameroon the quarters?
Yeah,
I think Cameroon was before, wasn't it?
So it's a game before, but like when you're 10, a bit like you were when you're 9, like England's a lot bigger thing because it's like growing up in Somerset, it's what everyone like supports in terms of the team and stuff. So yeah, that was pretty good back then. That Platt goal, hooking in the corner last minute.
It was a hell of a goal as well. He was a great player, Platt, wasn't he?
Yeah, much underrated, I think.
Yeah, I think he was. In fact, that Villa team from '92 was very, very underrated.
Yeah.
That was a really good side.
Was that the team that spanked us 6-2? Was that an earlier team?
No, that was about 1989, 90, wasn't it?
Okay.
When we wore the silver and white stripes.
We must have had a few players in those late 80s ones, though.
Yeah, we did. They all fucked off the Rangers, though, didn't they?
European football, right?
Those halcyon years.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. Dave, what's yours?
I'm going a bit more modern there because you two are older than me there. I think that's quite obvious.
Quite considerably, I think.
Oh, no. I was born in 87, so I think what I'm going to say will hopefully account to many of our younger listeners. But anyway, I've got a couple of things I want to mention here because you guys did. So, firstly, Brazil getting beat 7-0. Or was it 7-1?
Oh,
by Germany.
Germany.
Yeah.
2018.
That was just no. Was that 2018 or was it?
It was
before, 2014. 2014. Sorry.
To see that happen in our time, because you look at Brazil now. I think Brazil are obviously one of the favourites to win it this year. They always are, Brazil, because of the magic that they have. But even that side at that time, to see them getting destroyed at that level of a semi-final, it was semis, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Was that in Brazil as well?
Yeah. Brazil World Cup on it.
Yeah, that was just like, front page news for football.
Yeah. It
was absolutely ridiculous. That Germany side that went on to win it was immense, but you would never ever dream of that happening. 7-0. That is unbelievable. And then the other one is a bit more of a personal touch because I used to love them at the time. But the Republic of Ireland side, when it had Mick McCarthy as the manager, I don't know what the fixation was with them, but obviously they were the sort of the real underdogs in every game that they played. They always seemed really difficult. They had some really poor players along with some really decent ones. And they had like Robbie Keane in his day and all that, and Niall Quinn as well. They were the 1-2 up front, weren't they? And who did we have there? Who was there for them? Matt Holland, I think, was there. And it sort of answers the other question that's been asked about the player you want to sign. Gary Breen, for some reason.
I've got to say, I wasn't expecting that.
Gary Breen, for some reason, was just adored by so many different clubs that there was all sorts of talk in the paper about, the transfer window happening during the World Cup and all that. And Gary Breen's performances, sort of everyone was looking. He was probably the most popular player that was demanded by so many clubs in the Premier League at that time. So I was like, yeah, I'd love it if we got Gary Breen just to piss other people off. But anyway, continuing with that question of the best game, it was only a 1-1 draw this, but it was when they drew 1-1 with Germany. Keane scores a last-minute penalty to get it. Is it one? They drew anyway. I don't know if it continues and lost in extra time or penalties. But I just remember John Motson's commentary. You just hear him say, "Look at these scenes. Just look at these scenes." It was a bit like the Brolin commentary that they did that time. That to me, that game, seeing them, and I think Japan and Korea was really, really good World Cup. We've had some stinkers since. The 2010 World Cup was dope.
Do you know what? Right, people, just quickly on that. people go on about all the shit around this Qatari tournament. The worst thing for me is they got vuvuzelas back. The amount of things they ban in Qatar, but they allow vuvuzelas in. Grow up.
I don't know if anybody watched Senegal against Qatar today. Obviously, they just put Qatar out, which is great. Depending on your...
Oh, God, yeah. I hope they don't score a goal.
Oh, absolutely right, yeah. They did score a goal. Did they score a goal? Yeah, I think they did score.
I was working.
Was it 3-1?
I was switching that game on and off between calls, and the 2 times I switched it on, there was 2 goals. So I thought it ended 2-0. I don't know.
Hang on, let me just check that now before we... Hang on, yeah, they finished 3-1 Senegal.
They scored. Never mind.
Wow, and whilst we're doing this, by the way, Netherlands won, Ecuador won at the moment. And
Valencia.
Ena Valencia has scored again, you know. Honestly, mate. Ena Valencia, top scorer. So yeah, there's only a couple of minutes left because they're doing that. Oh, by the way, and I know we've gone off on a bit of a tangent a couple of times.
I'm still here.
What do you lads make of this extra added time that they're putting in games? Because I don't know whether people are going to hammer me for this, but I actually think it's a fantastic idea. You're not happy with it? The reason being that it makes it near impossible for teams to waste time.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, if you're Goodison and when we're losing and the other team is wasting time, it's very frustrating. So if it stops the other teams from wasting time at Goodison, I'm all for it. But in terms of you want to leave Goodison as quickly as possible, then it's a bad thing.
My thing is, I don't want to leave on 89 minutes and still
another
have 10 minutes of the game left. This is messing with my whole...
You want to time your
It's the park ender right now.
Yeah, this is... You will not find a single park ender who agrees with this added time thing. It's ridiculous.
But hang on. It makes sense, though, doesn't it? It's like what happens in the NFL and basketball, where they turn the clock off when the ball goes out of play.
Yeah.
Why is that not a thing with football?
But you just said it makes sense to park ender. I'm not sure those two things go together, Dave.
Yeah. we don't look at things through that sort of lens, to be honest.
If we're not winning 1-0 at half time, most of them have got off already.
None of us want to be there. This is the thing. So why do I want to spend an extra 10 minutes?
Yeah, so that I don't know whether that's probably something you can include as well. I know what was the other question? Who's the best player? One of the players.
So we've got the player you watched the World Cup and were desperate for Everton to sign. So you threw us a curveball with that one day. Foxy, was yours?
Yeah, so I haven't watched much of this World Cup. I turned Brazil on for 10 minutes last night. Saw Richarlison score twice and turned it back off again. I would love to sign him back. I'd love to get him back at the end of the season. In previous World Cups, I think we were linked with him when he was playing in Russia. Was Arshavin. He then went to Arsenal.
Oh, yeah.
I thought he would be great for us. I think we were linked with him before he went to Arsenal. It was obviously never realistic that he would have come to us, but I was watching him come to Everton. Yeah, never.
Yeah, we definitely were. Yeah, I think the one that sprung to my mind wasn't from a World Cup. It was from Euro '96, and it was Davor Suker.
Oh yeah.
Watching him in Euro '96, he was unreal, and I was just thinking, I would absolutely love Everton to sign him. And we probably weren't in a position to sign him, but we were all right at the time. It was the one year of the '90s where we were actually half decent.
Yeah,
96.
After the FA Cup, yeah.
96, where we just missed out on Europe.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was another European ban we fell foul of, wasn't it?
We played Arsenal last day of the season, and I think it was that season. I think it was, or it might not be, when Tony Adams scored that whopper of a goal, that half volley.
No, that was against us.
After that.
No, that was 97, 98 when we nearly went down.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
That was before the Coventry game. The one in 96, we basically, England got a World Cup place taken off them, didn't they? Because Wimbledon and Tottenham put understrength teams in the newly formed Intertoto Cup.
Right.
So obviously, Everton finished sixth.
Of course they did.
Any other year, we'd have been in Europe. Not that year. Oh no.
What might have been if that hadn't have happened?
Honestly,
it was when like you couldn't finish sixth. I remember who did that to us. I think it was in the later years, in the early 2000s, when we missed out on the final day because we were playing Man United. Man United beat us, and I think it was Blackburn won their game, and that we ended up finished 7th and 6th got in.
Yeah,
random fact that. But just one else to throw in as well. Just the close second place to the legend Gary Breen was Karol Poborski because of
Oh
what
my God, yeah, Poborski.
he went to United and was absolute shit. But that goal he scored, I remember just raving about that for so long, trying to score it when you play fuzzy with your mates and all that.
Yeah, he was unreal, wasn't he? Well, until he went to United.
That was at Anfield when it happened as well, that chip.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Delta. That was he was Croatian as well, wasn't
he? He was Czech Republic.
Or was he?
Was it Czech Republic back then?
I was going to say same thing.
Czechoslovakia.
I think so. Yeah.
TWS replied to this with his player, and it's a good shout for Kit. His name's escaped me. Romanian lad.
Was it Hadji?
Mutu.
No, I was thinking not Hadji. Was Hadji Bulgarian? No, it's Hadji, isn't it?
I thought it was Hadji on the picture. Yeah.
It is Hadji, yeah. I was thinking Hadji was Bulgarian for some reason. Yeah. What a shout. Next one then. Favourite World Cup kits?
It has to be the day, one of the most infamous things that happened at the World Cup, 2006, Zidane, headbutt to an Everton player. When he was sent off, that iconic picture of when he walks past the World Cup trophy, and then obviously he's got his head down. That white, I mean, France have done some absolute belt.
France kits are unreal.
That white one where it had the sort of, it had just under the chest and obviously the badge, it had a red and blue sort of, they just sort of were right together along the middle of it. The middle is just below the sort of breast part of the top, and I thought it was an absolute stunner, as well as the shirt. And the reason with Zidane as well, obviously he was an Adidas man like Messi is, but they had the Preds then, and he was wearing the golden Preds, they looked unbelievable. Like he was still, what was he then? He was still early 30s, maybe late 30s, 06, it might be a little bit younger than that. But seeing him, because when they played Brazil in the semis, didn't he? And he destroyed Brazil almost on his own, set up Henry in it. But that white kit was special, absolutely special.
Yeah. Favourite Predators, just while we're on it? Mine are the Accelerator from 98.
Mine are the ones that I think they were just after that, where they started to go a little bit wild with the way in which they made them, in the styles of them and stuff. And they were, when they had the heels were sort of really red. Do you remember that?
Were they Mania?
I think it was. It was there when they started. They ended up bringing out.
Yes.
Like they bring out I think Beckham wore silver ones of them.
Yeah. So the front of them, the like the blades on the front looked like bones, didn't they?
Yeah. Do you remember how they were made? The story why they were made?
Craig Johnson one.
Craig Johnson using what was it? A thing in the car, the thing that you put your feet on in the car, the rubber.
Oh, the rubber mat.
The rubber mat he wrapped around the boot, and that's why them things are on the actual Predators.
Well, I had the first original pair of Predators when they came out, and it was literally like wearing one of those mats on your feet. The boot was pretty much 95% rubber right the way round with fins on them.
Did it make a difference? Did it work?
No, but this is it though, Foxy. This is it.
Yeah.
So the whole problem, I say problem, is that when I remember I got my first pair of them when I was in year 9 or something like that, when I got them. So we're talking 2002, 2003 when I got my first pair. And by the way, they were ridiculously expensive at the time. I know footy boots right now, the professional ones are upwards towards 300 quid right now. But them and the Nike Vapor always used to be like a competition between Nike and Adidas, as there always has been. Those two are the main ones, because if you remember when Ruud van Nistelrooy first came to the Premier League, he wore these amazing Nike Mercurials, and they were ridiculous because they were like, they were really weird plastic, but they were so thin that if you had somebody even touch your feet, they'd crush you because they were that thin and that light. The whole idea was that they're really, really light so you can run faster with them. And obviously that was no good to me. So I always went to the Predators. And when I first got them, and I started playing in them, I was convinced that I could whip it in a lot better because I had them things on, them rubber things on.
Yeah.
And for ages and ages and ages, I'd tell the kids in school and all that, and they'd be like, "Nah, Dave, you just chat shit, mate. They don't make any difference." And I still maintain they don't make any difference. Much to the point where they started changing them because I think about 4 or 5 years ago, they stopped actually renewing them every year with the new versions. And then they've only came back, I think, in the last couple of years. But that the rubber changed on them every single year. So you sort of got to the point in thinking, yeah, this must be a gimmick because they don't even include the thing that they used last season. So does that mean they were shit as well?
Yeah.
And the last sort of thing that I was going to say on them is they were always $129.99. That's how much they were to buy. Both
always.
And the Nike Vapors. And now, I think when they brought out, what are them ones they brought out? The F50s. They brought out these F50s, which were just pure plastic. And you used to be able to get, you buy a pack of them. They were always released in a pack where you could change the studding on them. You could change all sorts of different things on them. It just started getting really out of control because I used to obsess over getting them. And I really wish I'd kept them all because I'd have like quite a nice museum of footy boots. Because, if you two have ever looked at my Twitter, every season, I obsess over what Nike ball we use in the Premier League. I am absolutely obsessed, and I wish I'd have bought each one. But again, that's ridiculously priced. They're like 150 quid these days.
Stupid, aren't they?
Ridiculous.
Yeah, daft. Foxy, what's your favourite Predator and your favourite kit?
I've never had Predators. Never had them. So I don't.
You look like a Puma King man to myself.
So,
no nonsense, man.
Yeah, I think it's like New Balance stuff.
That's obviously that.
I don't know why.
Where did they come from though? Because it sort of looks like it came out of nowhere. Because Liverpool had them immediately, didn't they? After they found
New Balance were an old 80s, mate.
Yeah, they were. Brian Robson had them and stuff.
Yeah, my PE teacher in junior school had a New Balance trackie.
Yeah, but it's weird, like the different places you grow up in, like the different trends that are in that place. So in Somerset, then yeah, it's just a different thing.
They're a very popular brand trainers wise and run shoes wise, aren't they? Like Asics. Asics are Andre Kanchelskis wore Asics and Mizuno.
Oh, Mizuno.
Yeah. In
with
terms
the
of
massive long tongues.
In terms of like football tops, the Argentinian ones, particularly Maradona.
Yeah.
I have a almost romantic connection to that time, like 86, 90, 94, Maradona. Those tops are awesome. Yeah, I haven't got one, but I love one.
That's mine. The 86 Lecoq Sportif Argentina.
Yeah, it's a great top.
Do you not think the way that they were always very, very small and quite tight shirts? Because you look at that and I think whenever you see something immediately on the TV, you can almost work out which era it was from based on how sort of baggy the tops are. In the mid-90s, I think it tops, and I'm talking like across the spectrum of football, shirts started to get really, really, really baggy. Ridiculously so.
Yeah.
And it's not only now in the last 10 years they started coming back in. Do you remember the Cajun one we had when Rooney first came on the scene? That was really tight.
Early 2000s, they brought in tight kits to stop shirt pulling, didn't they?
Oh, was that what it was for?
That was a huge problem in the 90s. For it. Yeah, so basically, because these shirts were billowing everywhere, you could just grab hold of someone's shirt and no one would have a clue.
Yeah.
So they brought in these like...
Well, I just remember Big Dunk's main years with us was with that baggy Everton top.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you can tell as well, like, from the shorts. So, like, the 80s shorts were proper shorts, weren't they?
Oh,
it wasn't a lot of stretch in those.
No one needs to see John Barnes in a pair of shorts from the 80s. He wore exceptionally short shorts.
I think shorts they have now are pretty decent. They're not too short. They're not too baggy.
Decent fit. Right. Yeah. Stick with that length and fit. They're all good. Better move on to questions. LK has asked, what's the best chippy around Goodison or on County Road? And what's your order? So for reference, his is Blue Dragon on Goodison Road, chips with salt and pepper wings, no curry anymore after a mishap with brand new trainees after a Baltic defeat to Leicester on New Year's Day in 2019. How to make a fucking dreadful day even worse, ruining your trainees with curry. Foxy, last time you were up, What was your chippy? What was your order?
I've never been to chippy round, so I hate queuing. I often go to a night game and I've come straight from work and I'm starving. But my hunger versus my hatred of queuing is greater. I hate queuing, and normally kind of around Goodison, and you see the queues and like 40 people deep.
It is ridiculous.
I've probably spent the last 2 hours queuing down Queen's Drive, the M62, or the M6. I'm not going another queue. I can't be doing it.
It's interesting what Bramley Moor will be like with that, you know.
Yeah, I'm worried about that a bit because it's
people straight into town. You've got to go to a restaurant or something, haven't you?
Yeah.
All eating in the panoramic before the game.
So having said that, there must be loads of food places at Bramley Moor when it gets opened.
Yeah,
there will be, and I reckon there'll be. I reckon more of us will be knocking about town before the game. To be honest.
Yeah.
It's really I'm gonna need to work out my routine to getting there. Where do I park? Where do I get the train? How do I get in? Just a whole new routine from Goodison. But I normally go into Goodison and get like a shitty burger in the grounds. All the chocolate they have there is quite good because they tend to do duos and everything. So you kind of get the duo Mars or the like 8-finger Kit Kat or something.
So no queuing for chippies for you.
No, Chip. I've never done one.
You actually writing that down because you were going to take him there.
Octo Kit Kat could be the title. But Foxy, next time you're up, I'm taking you to Chongqing.
All right, let's do it
on County Road for chips and curry and a steak and kidney pie separate.
Awesome.
Basically, you keep when the game's on. Have your chips and curry on the way up. Finish by the time you get to ground. Still got your pie. Winner.
Sounds good.
Dave?
First of all, you need to bail steak and kidney pies because steak and kidney puddings were miles better, and there's not many places that do them these days.
You can't get them.
But steak and kidney puddings were so nice because they were just soft all over, whereas the pies, if you get, the Hollands ones, sometimes it's a bit 50-50, depending on what chippy you're in, whether you're actually getting some nice genuine bit of steak in there. But also, the outside of the pie itself, you can tell how fresh that pie is, depending on how thick that stuff is on the outside, because some of it will break your teeth sometimes when you get it, but the other ones, if they're nice and soft, you're absolutely fine with that. But yeah, there's been some dodgy ones that I've been to. In regards to, no, I don't, and similar to Foxy, I don't stop around really. I'd definitely have a hot walk if that counts, because they do some really nice stuff in there. What I normally do, because I used to live in Bootle, which again, I've mentioned Paddy Boylan twice here, which is quite worrying, but Paddy Boylan always used to...
Can't stop talking about Paddy.
I know, because he used to rip me from being from Bootle. I'm not actually from, I say from it. I was initially from Bootle because I lived there for 10 years before I moved, but I was born in Fazakerley, like many Scousers are, right? So, you two clearly weren't born in Fazakerley, by the way, were you? But anyway...
Birkenhead, 100%.
There you go, mate. You're classic over the water.
The hospital I was born in got knocked down about 3 months after I was born.
Did it?
Yeah.
You broke the mould, mate. That's why.
I think so. Yeah, that's what it was, yeah.
But in terms of food, because I was a Bootle lad at the time, Bootle head, as many would say, I used to walk down Carisbrook Road, which would get you to the top by where the Mons was and where it is now. My school was Hillside, over the road from there. So I'd always end up going to George Jerry's, which is on Aintree Road, by Derby Park. And most people should know this if they've been in and around Bootle. George Jerry's, to this day too, and I might go and get one later, does the best kebabs by a mile, by an absolute mile. And the reason why is because of the sauces, in my opinion. Because I remember going in one time, and I'm not a fan of really, really hot chili. And I said, can I have chili on it? And he went like, what one do you want? And as most places would ask now, it's either really spicy or sweet chili or medium chili. So I said, just give us some medium chili. And I'm a bugger for tahini as well. I love tahini. And again, not many chippies do a kebab where you can get tahini with it as well. Mate, tahini and sweet chili from this place, I could live on it. I could drink the tahini as well. Like, instead of water. Probably explains a hell of a lot if people have seen me. But absolutely stunning place to go. And it's not that far. Having said that, most people have come out of Goodison. You go down Carisbrooke Road, like I said, brings you out at the top of Southport Road, and then you'd walk down. It's probably about 1.5 miles, 2 miles from Goodison, like so. But it's worth the walk, and you've actually burned off quite a bit of what you need to when you've had one of these kebabs with mounds and mounds and mounds of sauce. And the other thing, the final thing, that's just the cherry at the top of the cake here with it, is that when you go somewhere now, and you lads might be able to say that I'm right about this, getting coleslaw is really, really difficult in a kebab. You would have to get a tub of coleslaw or something like that. George Jerry still
last mayonnaise if you want.
Oh, mate, George Jerry still to this day have got like just a massive bowl of it that they just get. Oh, it's lovely and fresh and nice and cold as well. It cools down your kebab. I'm going now. Scrap this.
I'm going to say, mate, I'll be absolutely amazed if you don't have a kebab for tea after that.
It's not Saturday yet. Saturday night maybe. The thing is, where I live now, which is West Derby way, it's a bit of a trek for us to go down there. But it's well worth it. And even with the cost of petrol these days, it is magic.
I might have to give that a go after the game. After the Wolves
Please
game.
do.
I am now hungry. I wasn't before, but I'm now.
Oh, mate.
Last two questions. I'll come to you first on this, Foxy. What's your least favourite motorway? That's Laura's. Laura going full partridge.
Yeah, I carry on the partridge theme. So I've got two least favourite motorways. So one for construction and one for traffic. And I've also got a favourite if we'll go full partridge.
I am totally a difference on this. So you have the floor for this one, man.
Yeah, so my least favourite motorway is the M1. Well, for me, going towards London and back up. So most motorways you go on are kind of made of nice tarmacs, nice and smooth, dark tarmac that you kind of roll through. And it's all good. The M1 is made of concrete slabs for some reason. Like the bit further south towards London is concrete slabs.
Boys.
I've been on it and not paying attention to where I was, and I thought my car's breaking down. So it's just suddenly starts shaking, and you get like reverberations going around the car and stuff. And you kind of look out as you pay attention to where you're driving, and you're like, I'm in concrete slab land, and it's just like a horrendous piece of motorway in terms of construction.
There's the title, concrete slab land.
The worst motorway for me, because like I said before, I'm from Somerset. My family, everyone's kind of still down there. Is the M5 bit by Bristol. So if you lads ever go down to Cornwall, Devon for your summer holidays, you'll know that the traffic builds up and like a reasonable journey time just extends. So normally it's about 2.5 hours from where I'm in the Midlands to get down south. In the summer, it's about 5 hours. And I've kind of now said to my parents and family that I'm not going to go to any family gatherings from like mid-July to end of August, September, because I'm just like not
that bad.
That. It's horrendous. My sister's getting married next year, and she was like playing about with dates for getting married, and she'd done it in like mid-July to August. I wouldn't have gone. I would have seriously thought about it. She's fortunately doing it in February. I'm going to go, but like I'll be like, it's going to take me 5 hours to go down there. So,
mate,
the M5 bit is atrocious. My favourite bit of motorway is the M6 as you go towards T-Bay. So my other half is Scottish, and we frequently kind of drive up to Glasgow and stuff. I don't know if you've
M6 North is a dream.
Yeah, and you kind of go past Carlisle and up over
Carlisle's glorious, mate.
Yeah, and you go past that bit, and you got like the T-Bay services, which is the king or queen of service stations. And that drive up there is a lovely drive. And you also, I don't know if you noticed it, as you go up to Scotland on the right-hand side past T-Bay, you get like a cock and balls cut out with some trees.
Yeah.
Really? You ever seen that? You ever go up that way? It's like a cock and balls.
It gets you up to, you can get, the thing is as well with about like getting up to Scotland, it's like it is obviously the most main road for us to get that way from being from the northwest. But also with that as well, it's such a lovely drive because I don't think I've ever gone up that way and it's been even remotely busy.
No, it's never busy. No one wants to go to Scotland.
It's an absolute dream to drive up that place, and it's actually quite scenic as well when you get up north and it's near the lakes and all that stuff. I'm with you there, mate. I think that's
and I've got as my children get older, so I've got a 14-year-old daughter, and previously we go past the cock and balls and she wouldn't say anything. the last time we did it, she was looking at the tree. She looked at me and went, I was like, oh, you're getting to a certain age now. I don't really appreciate that. But no, M6 North is great. Once you get past.
Dave, I've actually just thought of a motorway that I absolutely despise, and it's the M27 through the New Forest on the way to Bournemouth.
It's just Bournemouth at the end of it, though, isn't it?
Yeah, we got stuck on that for about 2 hours, I'm sure.
It's not a proper motorway.
Yeah. Got in the game. I think we left at a reasonable time to get down there.
Yeah, we left about 6.
Yeah, we did. That's what I mean. We left that early, and we got to the ground at like 5 to 3 just before kickoff.
I'll tell you exactly when we got on the ground. 2:45 we got on the ground because the girl behind the counter wouldn't serve me with a beer because she said we can't serve alcohol 15 minutes before kickoff. I was like, I've just driven 8 hours to get here. No, 15 minutes before kickoff, we can't serve alcohol. So we got in the ground, bang on 2:45.
Yeah, mate. And the thing about that as well, the thing we got really fortunate was whoever the steward was, because obviously it's tiny, isn't it? Bournemouth, the vitality is tiny. So where the players park is like right next to where fans park and stuff like that. And obviously it was already full by the time we got there. This steward actually let us park in the players' car park where the players. It's the same.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't believe how nice this person is. Unbelievable that. And rightly earned as well, to be fair, wasn't it? Because when we were driving and we got off the motorway and it was all A1 to get there, really, wasn't it? At that point, lovely trees and whatnot. But we were stuck glued in it for ages and it was horrible.
Welcome to the south.
Such a nice day as well, because it was like August time, wasn't it? Early season.
Yeah,
don't drive in the south in August. It's the rule. Like sister's wedding, for anything football, just don't do it. It's not worth it.
Well, because obviously you're in the same way to Brighton and Southampton as well. And each time, mate, it has been well. You think about when we went to Brighton, Les. That is one of the most infamous drives ever.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah,
mate.
I think I slept for most of the way back, didn't I?
Yeah, mate. But getting back to the car from Brighton, which we didn't realise Brighton was in the Teletubby land, and the worst thing about it was it's obviously in the midst of a university, but they didn't let anybody park in the university, so we literally went to the end of Dover, and by the end, I mean we were close, like on Broadchurch, we were close to going into the Channel. It was that close, and we had to get they did a shuttle bus, didn't they? So we got there in a shuttle bus. And the worst thing about it was the game finished. We lost 1-0. My claim to fame was Jordan Pickford gave me his gloves, which I thought I was dead excited about. And then he said, "No, give them to that kid for me." And it was like a 5-year-old kid. But it looked really nice. But I've actually got a photo of me snarling, absolutely fuming. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we were going to get the shuttle bus back, but how bad was the amount of people that were waiting for it, Les?
That was nuts, wasn't it?
Yeah. So we ended up jumping back. Yeah, oh yeah, lovely. It was right by the race course, wasn't it, where we parked the car?
Yeah.
And we ended up getting a taxi back stupidly because everyone's stuck in a queue anyway. So obviously the shuttle bus would have been free to get back to our car. But it cost us about, I don't know, 15, 20 quid to get like 2 miles. And then the worst part of it, that was just the dread of it, because it was winter as well. It was
between Christmas and New Year, wasn't it, that game?
It was horrendous, mate. It was so bad. And then we got in the car, and the first thing that happened, no joke whatsoever, I'm almost certain Liverpool were playing Arsenal. And
you were.
We turned the radio on, and they made it like 3 or 4-0. Literally, the commentary as we put it on was, and Mane's finished.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah.
I felt like crying, man. Absolutely crying. And didn't get home until about 3 in the morning. Ridiculous.
Just before that, some kid got knocked over in the car park.
Oh, yeah, I remember that now as well. We thought, like, honestly, mate, it was all going off down in Brighton.
What a day. Last question from Dan. Once Frank is relieved of his duties, do you think he'll start shaving his head to give him more of a Martinez regen vibe? About time, isn't it? He needs to go one way or the other. He needs to get the plugs or just get rid.
Well, he's had the start of it, hasn't he? And as a man who refuses to get rid of the hair that he must do soon, it's either that or get to pay or pay for something, or just shave it all off and look ridiculous. Because I literally people are asking me for autographs because I've started as Friar Tuck at the sorts of in all sorts of plays and whatnot. Yeah, Lampard. When you look at the top of his head, when it's a shiny day, when it's a nice day, and even when there's like anywhere around him, when it's light, when there's light around him, when there's lamps around him or whatever, you can see that it's going really, really thin at the top,
like a little halo.
Yeah. Plus Everton's touched you, right?
Exactly.
I think it's really accelerated in the last 12 months.
But yeah. I don't think you can imagine him bald. I could never imagine seeing someone like that bald.
No. I think it will be gone by the time he leaves the club. I think everything will be gone, even around the sides, not even just the top. I don't think he'll need to. I think he'll go like full.
Justine Lampard will be gone by that time.
Well, I do feel sorry for her. We've like ruined her marriage, probably.
Everything a lot worse.
Obviously,
I don't know if either of you've gone that far.
What's that?
No.
Watching loose women.
No, it's not that bad.
No. I think obviously the right answer is he goes to the Everton hair transplant partner, the Rob Vera clinic.
Well, I think it'll grow back when he leaves. So I think he just has to go. Give him 6 months, we'll be perfect again.
Well, the elephant in the room here is, are you actually saying you want him to go now, Foxy?
What, for his marriage? Then yes, but
for
nothing to do with football.
He seems a nice fella.
He does. So Christine seems nice. He's got a couple of kids and stuff. So I think for his own sanity,
we're not worth it, are we?
You wouldn't wish that job on anyone, would you? Really?
No. I'm sick of the Tory shouts. You know.
Oh God, I know.
For him,
boring, isn't it?
Yeah,
especially from the Reds, who've literally got a fascist goalkeeper, allegedly. I don't know if you have to say that. No one listens anyway. It's fine.
You tell me any Premier League club, including them, has got many non-Tory players.
Oh, they're all rich.
Exactly.
Well, did you see that thing that was tweeted yesterday from one of the journos? Basically, Richarlison, the only Brazilian player who publicly supported Lula in the elections. They were all Bolsonaro fans, weren't they?
Yeah.
And you'll find that all footballers will. They just look after themselves.
Well, it's about how much tax they pay, isn't it? So they're going to be like, where's the tax point? How much are you going to pay? Okay.
Do you imagine Yerry Mina voting Tory?
I can imagine all of them do.
Actually going down to his nearest polo. Just going back to that Lampard sort of answer that I followed on with there, or the question I followed on with there. I don't think he'll reach the end of the season with us personally.
I think it'll be a shame if he doesn't. I know there's a lot of like saying, well, what?
I agree with that. I don't want him to.
No, but I don't want him to. I think the next 4 games are key, aren't they, for him? So we got City, we've got 3 home games. I think
we got Wolves on Boxing Day. Wolves at home on Boxing Day.
Yeah, then we've got Southampton and Brighton after that. So I think anything less than, what do you reckon, 5 out of those 4?
Yeah,
because it would be bottom 3.
I do think that, but for me, it's like, and I know people say, when you say you can't keep firing managers, and it's kind of, we'll just stop employing shit ones, which, yeah, I see to a degree. But then people are doing that sort of disingenuous thing, like, well, his record's as bad as Benitez. They're 2 totally different.
Oh, completely different. Benitez was a
bygone, past glories, fucking dinosaur who was just the worst thing ever to happen to the club.
Yeah.
And I know you can't judge a manager on the fact that, you know, he says the right things and he seems to buy into it, but it does buy you a bit of leeway. Plus, he's a young manager and he's got to make mistakes. It's like...
And you can see where Lampard does a route out. I mean, to me, if he kind of sorts the midfield out and just strengthens the defensive aspect of midfield, and if we can buy some attackers, then you can see a route out for Lampard that we can pick up points.
Yeah.
But for Benitez, it felt like there's no route out. Like whatever we did, it's just toxic.
And for me, like we said before, this just all comes down to how shit the club's being run.
Yeah.
Because like I said at the start, they wrote off the first 5 games of the season effectively because they couldn't be arsed getting the players in that we needed. So, you know, you look at the difference, 1 or 2 players could have made to that Forest game, for example. You know, it's just the fine margins in those first 5 games. You wrote it off. All comes back down to me. So if this club gets rid of another manager and those clowns in the boardroom are not run out of town, what's the point?
Yeah. Well, that's it, and that's why it's so disappointing when you drive past them. Well, almost daily when I was allowed to drive. You drive past Bramley Moor and look at it and think, oh, please don't fuck this up, please.
Yeah.
You know, just obviously make sure we're in the Premier League, but actually have us to compete with something that's worthwhile.
Yeah.
And do you know what? I've sort of drifted quite a bit. Not fully against Lampard. I think he's made some really, really basic mistakes. But then again, also linking with the recruitment, which has obviously been the thing that's killed us off as an entity since Mashiri's come in. And do you know what? I used to think, oh, is it too simple to say that? I don't actually think it is. I think the recruitment has been that bad. Obviously, since we got Thelwell in with Lampard, I do treat them as a pair. And I refuse to believe that some of the players we've got in is not linked with Lampard as well. And then with that in mind, I'm thinking, why the hell did we get Neil Maupay?
It doesn't make sense, does it?
Because he's not only shit, but he's too small as well.
He's just nothing like Calvert-Lewin. It just doesn't.
No, exactly. Well, this is it. And the thing is, we don't have the wingers or anybody apart from a Iwobi who can actually provide service to both, or they struggle to provide, as it stands, service just to one of Maupay and Calvert-Lewin. So it's hard enough anyway. And then the bit of a thing that people just keep on banging on about with Maupay is, but we've never seen him playing as a front two. We won't play a front two before the next election. I don't think you're ever going to see Lampard play Calvert-Lewin and Maupay as a front two and we go 4-4-2. That is just not going to happen. And the reason why, well, the reason I believe why, and the reason I probably wouldn't do it myself, is because of the shit that they've got behind them. Because that midfield, and as nice and as optimistic and as, I don't know, positive as I was when we got Onana in, when we got just a Gay back, when we got James Garner, I thought that trio coming in, I'm thinking, do you know what? We've got a foundation now with the two centre-halves that we've got, who are the best signings we've made. I look at that then, I think, do you know what? That's solid. That should be easily mid-table. But then I think Onana's blown so hot and cold. And if I'm honest, I don't like saying it because he's in his early 20s. He's still learning his trade in the Premier League. But I think it's been more cold than it has hot with him. And then huge disappointment has been just a gay. And this chat, I'd implore anyone to listen to the piece that I did with Michael Greenall last week, where we went into detail, because he does a lot of statistic stuff. We went into the sort of deeper details towards what's happened here. And one of the things I said about getting just a gay back was that how good he was before he went to PSG. With that reverse happening, he's come back into us having played for a side in a league where they're going to have 75 to 80% possession every single game that pisses a league title. He's come to a side that does the complete opposite. Not only complete opposite, but one that he's not used to when he left us, because we were never this low, despite all the problems we had. We were never where we were fighting relegation on the penultimate day of the season when Idrissa Gueye was with us. So I'm thinking that's a massive shift that he's had to do twice, from going from Everton to PSG, then PSG back to Everton. I mean, his head must have been all over the place when he started playing for us, thinking, what is all this? But I think that's maintained all the way through since he's been back, as much as so I look at him thinking, why is Lampard not taking him off? And then the final sort of negative to throw towards Lampard is, which I banged on about every single post-match, which you'll know, Les, what is he playing at with these substitutions? He seems to refuse to make a change before 60-odd, when I think he's made one sub. And mate, I nearly fainted when I saw him make a substitution at half-time. I think he put James Garner on a couple of games ago. I'm thinking, you don't just wait for the sake of it. Yeah. Make a substitution if we're playing that shit. And he just hasn't done it. And that's the thing probably at the centre of me thinking that he probably goes towards before the end of the season. In that, I don't think he's experienced enough, and Paul Clement should know better next to him as a fine coach to make those changes in games that can make us a bit more positive. But I'm like you, Les. I don't want him to go. I'd love him to be successful. That coupled with the board, coupled with recruitment, coupled with the fact we haven't got a striker and we signed Mopé, I don't think he's going to stay too long.
Can't really argue with any of that, mate. No, I think that's where we all are, isn't it?
This is meant to be the funniest uplifting podcast that we do.
We were saying at the start, it's nice to not talk about Everton and have any Everton questions. I've just ended on an absolute bum note there, but we'll have to leave it there. That's how it is. We'll be back.
We started for 10 minutes talking about Everton as well, didn't we?
I know. What sort of a fucking podcast this? Jesus. Right, yeah, we'll leave it there, gents. Foxy, thank you. Dave, thank you. Thanks to everyone who sent questions in. We'll catch you next time on Mailbag.